So, welcome everyone to this session, Dancing Like a Facilitator. While I was setting a few things up, I noticed that I thought I was just sharing the sound and I was sharing the screen, but like this is exactly the things that we're going to be talking about. It's about what happens when we're facilitating things, and whether it's through the new normal or other things, it's loads of challenges. So before we start, I see that Gediminas and Jurgita also already put some challenges in the chat, and I would like you maybe to use the chat, so the Hover chat, and type in some of the challenges that you've already encountered as a facilitator. So it can either be online or in person. It's just type in some challenges that you've encountered as a facilitator in the chat. So we already have one where it was like how to involve participants, especially when we're introverts and don't dare to speak up. The games online is not always the same as in offline. And also the fact when everyone's on mute and then like it stays silent in the room, and what to do with that. So please use the Hoover chat to type any challenges that you've encountered, because the goal of this workshop is also to go through them and see what different options we have. I will give you 1 minute, and actually what I will do is I will blow my whistle and I will start the minute here, and you will see this. I think I will remove the background, otherwise you will see invisible things. And at the end of the minute, we'll go through the challenges that you've put in the chat. Okay, so let's go. You can type any challenges that you've encountered as a facilitator, or any things that you'd like to have a response. If you notice that things are hard or you've got a question as a facilitator, please put it in the chat. And if you don't know where the Hoover chat is, it's actually on the agenda. If you click on this session, you should have a chat. You've got the session Q&A button, but you also have a chat window. So I can maybe share my screen. This time I'm going to do it right. And it is if I share this. So here you see the Hoover chat. So please type in any challenges that you have and we'll work with that. And the minute is out. So I see that there's still 2 challenges, not anymore. So that's great, because you're all fantastic facilitators. So congratulations on that. I'm really happy to hear that you're all facilitators. Oh, by the way, maybe I didn't say it already. This is going to be a workshop, which means that I will not be the only one talking. This is why I also left you the opportunity to unmute yourself if you want to. Secondly, we are going to use the chat, and we are going to use many interactivity modules so that you can bring them back in your life as a facilitator. Okay, so it's going to be based on your experience. I have not presented myself yet. So my name is Charles Louis de Maere. It's a French sounding name. I'm come from Belgium. I've been at Vilnius last year when it was still allowed to travel. Really enjoyed my time there. And I'm very happy to be facilitating this workshop, and there's going to be another one tomorrow morning as well. If my English is too fast or something like that, please let me know. If I have a Belgian accent, or if you would like some Belgian beer, let me know too. And the next time I'm in Vilnius, we'll just hang out and drink beers together. I have one more challenge: how to manage an angry retrospective. On one occasion when participants were so angry at each other where it felt like the retrospective will turn to fist fight soon. Great, fantastic. These are all fantastic challenges. Well, there is one thing here: how to control over dominant participants nicely. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Okay, so I see that you're starting to use the chat. That's fantastic. Well, the first thing is, if you want to get, I think it would be interesting to start, and maybe let's start in the order, okay? in which they were given. So maybe the first one, I'm going to call it how. I'm going to ask Gediminas, and please let me know if I pronounce your name correctly. So it was about involving participants online when they are introverts, right? Can you maybe tell me a little bit more about that? You may unmute your microphone so that I can understand the situation better.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So first of all, yes, you are pronouncing my name correctly. That's a good point. About introverts, well, in online teachings and etc., it's quite hard to get feedback from users. Well, from what I tried and from what worked, the solution was probably just asking repeatedly after some topic, do you have any questions, etc., etc., etc. Then I got some responses, at least in interactions with the audience. But otherwise, well, what other online games could be done or something to, how to say, improve this situation?
Yeah. So it's really about how to involve participants. You're asking them questions. No one replies. Maybe they're all on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or on Hova following an Agile Tour Vilnius. The thing is, you don't know whether they're reacting or not. Something like that. You may put your thumbs up in the reactions of the Zoom, or you can say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So I think the thing here is how to compete with Twitter or how to compete with any other distraction and how to make sure that people are your attention. Well, I've got a few ideas, but first of all, what I wanted to use is again the power of the chat, because we're more than 20 participants here. So I'm sure that some of you might have some ideas. So I will put here the question in the chat. And I will ask you, I will give you all 1 minute with this whistle and with the timer. And you've got 1 minute to give in all possible answers that you have to involve participants in a remote setting, okay? Okay, I see a few answers already going around to ask opinion, asking by mentioning the name also, letting them present their understanding, ask question with specific names so they have to answer. Yeah, organize breakout groups, show a funny video. This is to compete with Twitter. Asking questions opinion by using the exact names. And I will try to pronounce your names correctly. Be nice with me if I'm not. Yeah. So indeed, the minute is over, and we already see a few answers. Okay, Carolina, you did it just in time, so that's great. Ask the question in advance and ask them to answer as the last ones. Oh, that's also a very cool idea. So as you see, there are different options to involve participants. Some might not answer because maybe they are afraid to give a wrong answers, or they haven't heard the question. You remember, maybe I had this all the time at school where the teacher would call out my name and then I was completely blank because I forgot what happened in the last 5 minutes. But there's indeed a few things that you can use. You can either put the question in the chat, just like I did, and invite people to express their answers. Okay. You can also ask questions by asking a name, like, okay, if I'm asking, hey, Margus, how would you involve silent participants? Margus, you are free to unmute yourself and to tell me an option to involve silent participants. And maybe I'm pronouncing this completely wrong. And so Lina will tell me, Charles-Louis, you don't need to pronounce this name this way. You pronounce it in another way.
I think that everything is fine. Don't worry, it's okay.
Okay, okay, thank you. So you see, this is an option. Oh, and Marcus has technical issues. Great. Well, you see, so the chat works. This is the great thing. So there is one thing is if people have technical issues or do not dare to speak up, the chat will always work. You notice I am not using a Mural or a Miro or any other technical board. Here I'm using the platform that we have, which is Zoom together with the chat. Already? So now I'm curious, Gediminas, because I offered you a few options, and you know, since you're the one asking the question, I will ask you, and you may put it in the chat or you may use your voice. The thing is, since this is recorded, if you put your answer in the chat, people, when they watch the recording, they might not see your answer, so maybe use the voice. So what do you think from the answers that you got? Do you find something that you could use? Gediminas? Hello?
Yeah, basically the answers are just ask more questions and be more particular with how to say, even calling by names. It's quite hard to call by names when you don't know all the participants. So, for example, in your case, but you just choose random name and it seems it's working more or less. So yeah, so that just means I was on the right track, basically.
Yeah, indeed, you're on the right track, and you can always call someone by name like I did with you, and then you will kind of feel forced to answer because everyone will be looking at you. And in a way, another option also is to say, hey, okay, good evening. Once you've answered, you can select the next one to speak. So in a way, me as the facilitator, I just get the ball rolling, and then everyone just, the participation is distributed. If you've got most people that are really introverted and that are like, oh, okay, I don't want to sound stupid because I don't know the rest of the people and he's asking me a question and I prefer not to say anything. Well, the other fallback option is really to use the chat, where you then as a facilitator, in order to invite others to participate, you can even throw in a few silly answers, okay? Just to make them laugh, and then they will add thing. You can even say, okay, you know, the bandwidth for audio is broken, so please put all your answers in the chat without speaking. You can make it a game. Okay. All right. So another challenge that I noticed here is oh, Jurgita, one of the challenges is that everyone is on mute, and after a question, everyone is waiting while someone will start to answer. And since we are not allowed to do video, so maybe they are just scrolling the phone and you're not able to. Actually, when I look at the screen currently, this is the exact situation I'm in. So one thing I will do now, so you've got the situation where everyone is, okay. I wanted to create breakout rooms, but I see that most of you are watching this directly through Hoover, right? So I will not do breakout rooms because this is all about dancing like a facilitator. So the thing is, Jurgita asked about, okay, what to do when everyone is unmuted and when a question is answered, is asked, it's a big silent. Okay, no one dares to answer. No one dares to be the first one to answer. So since we will not be making breakout rooms because some of you are through Hoover, so I will ask Jurgita, how would you kind of explain a little bit more of context to the session?
Well, usually it's development team. So we got, I don't know, some question from the product owners or other developers, and I cannot answer for them. So, and they keep silence. So while they keep silence, you are starting to think, okay, maybe we are lost connections. We don't have anything to say. Maybe a question was wrong. Till someone breaks the silence.
Okay. So you are the product owner, Jurgita?
Now I'm the Scrum Master.
Ah, you're the Scrum Master.
So I'm usually facilitating those meetings.
Okay, all right. Wow, that's a wonderful challenge. And you know what? Maybe for this one, we will do a role play session. Would that be fine? So that will mean that we'll have to select a few participants who will unmute themselves and will be participating in this. So I will ask 3 people to put their thumbs up in the Zoom reactions thing, and you will be role-playing the silent development team. It's easy, huh? You have to stay muted. This is wonderful. Jurgita, we are actually with your development team because I've asked a question and nobody is reacting. This is fantastic. You recognize them?
Yeah.
Okay. So who wants to play this game with us? It's a role-playing game. Come on. It will also be a wonderful opportunity for you to try it out way back when you're back with your teams. Or maybe people don't understand Belgian. Okay, Raza, thank you. So you're number 1. Okay. So Jurgita, you keep track of the people, right? You have your development team, the Scrum Master you need to know. Okay. So Violetta, you're calling names. Okay, great. Violetta, you're in as well. So we have Violetta, we have Raza, and who else? We still need 1 person. And Gediminas, you say that you don't see any reactions from Hoover. You mean there is no possibility to add a reaction in the Hoover link? I would urge you, if you can, to join through Zoom. If you can still, if you click on the screen, to join through the Zoom application. Okay, so Violetta, can you try to unmute yourself and speak? So we know that you can also be part of the team.
Yes,
great.
I can.
Violetta can speak. Raza, can you also try to speak?
Hello, yes.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, so we have 2 speaking team members of the silent development team. Okay, so going back to my Scrum Master, I will play the product owner, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask a question to the development team. Okay, guys, we've got this wonderful new feature to develop. It's a bit technical, but I'm sure you can do it, and it needs to be done by the end of the sprint. We haven't spoken about it in the last backlog refinement because I was so busy, but it's good that I see you here at the planning. Will you be able to take it in the sprint? What happens now usually, Jurgita?
Silence. They are waiting for, I don't know, maybe sometimes they are waiting for the team leader to speak up.
Ah, we have a team leader. Okay, so Jurgita, I'm going to ask you, choose a name here that you will appoint to team leader.
Maybe Carolina?
Carolina, do you agree?
To be team leader?
Fantastic. Okay, so you're the team leader. Okay. Now this is an interesting dynamic because we have a Scrum Master that's facilitating for a silent development team. By the way, you are very good at being a silent development team, Raza and Violetta. I think you're wonderful. Really, you're doing that really well. Okay, so But we've got a team lead. So my question now is, what is that team lead doing at the planning session, for instance?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, Carolina, hey, you're the team lead. What are you doing in this planning meeting?
It depends actually, because my organization is a little bit different and it's not developers.
Yeah.
But as a team leader in the planning session, I usually just list and in prior select about what topics I would like to talk.
Yeah.
And just my vision of what should be included.
Oh, that's interesting, because I'm going to interrupt you because I'm not well educated. So my parents told me never interrupt somebody, but I'm like that. So Carolina, you're the team lead, and so you also have your own priorities, right?
Yep.
So I'm the PO. Do we generally align or not that much?
As I said, I'm not developer.
Yeah.
So yes, from the strategic point of view, so more longer term goals are aligned, but it's up to me to decide what can be done in the week or 2 weeks.
Okay, so Jurgita, pay attention to what I'm going to do. Hey, Carolina, you know, I noticed that when you're in the sprint planning meeting, suddenly it seems like the audio connection drops off from your team members. I don't know what's happening or why is that. I suspect that maybe they fear you, or they wait until we both agree until they say something. Now, I would like the people to be involved in what they do. What do you think of that, Carolina? I'm asking you as a team leader.
My first response, by the way, it is to ask you, what do you mean to involve them better?
Yep.
To involve them in the discussions.
Very good, fantastic. We have a wonderful team lead, because I guess that you care for your team. So you might say, hey, what's this guy saying? He doesn't know anything about the team, right? They're involved, they're doing a good job. What does he mean? Maybe. And I'm making that all up, Carolina, because I haven't asked you what you thought. So indeed, it's a great question. And this is all about, I could call it politics, but it's not politics. Actually, it's about ensuring that everyone is engaged. You know, Jurgita tells me that sometimes when the product owner, no, okay, so I'm going to put Jurgita out of the picture because I'm the product owner. I'm asking questions to the team, to the people who will do the work for me. And the thing is, Carolina, whenever I ask them a question, all I get in response is a name, is a blank screen with a name on it, the microphone on red to indicate that they're mute. I'm not even sure they're there. They might be doing the washing or something. They might be going outside for a 3D break. I'm worried that they might not even listen to what I'm saying, Carolina. So you see that?
Wow. Yeah, I see. And actually, how you put it was in very nicely way. So my suggestion would be to ask the people to show the faces, but is it in prerequisites that the video is not available?
Okay, I don't know. You know what, Carolina, since you're the team lead, maybe they will listen to you. Would you please ask them and to turn on the video? We'll see if
Yeah, why not? Just to agree on several simple rules. To go to a little bit sidetracks, I do remember that if there is one person who is not afraid to be a little bit clowny in the screen, so for example, waving, smiling, showing thumbs ups, it's the people then relax a little bit and they started to follow or just started to be more more engaging, let's say that way.
And I'm interrupting you again, Carolina, because it's great what you say. So it's about having somebody who's waving, smiling, interacting, and it's really about that. My view, and it comes back to what Lisette was saying earlier. It's about, hey, we're still human beings behind the screen, so it can be fun. Work shouldn't be boring. Okay, so just as an experiment, I would like you maybe to turn on your video. I don't know how the integration with Hoover works, but please try and turn on your video just to do a wave to see if that works. Hey, Raza. Good to see you. Hey, hello. Good. We've got some faces now. Look at now, for all those who have their video on or off, what is this doing to the ambience in the room? You may put your answers to the chat. What does it do now to suddenly see faces all around, and not only the one from a Belgian who's like talking nonsense for a while? How is it now to see all these faces on the screen? Carolina, I think you were unmuted, so but I saw your mouth move.
Yeah, and actually I'm in the Uva, so I do not see anyone. So by the way, hi.
Hi. Wait, you know what? I will share my screen. You know, let's just do that. I think I need to share my whole screen. I hope it will work. Does it work? Can you see all that? I think so, right? So now you see faces. Look at that. Isn't that funny?
Not seeing anything
Not
yet.
faces.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I see several.
So this wow. You know, it's all about engagement, right? We're trying to get people connecting as human beings. And this facilitates all part of that. Look at the difference when you see only names or when you see some faces. Suddenly we see smiles. The other Carolina is smiling. Maybe it's because of my accent, I don't know, or because I'm always constantly, or because I'm saying nonsense. So I'm curious, and I know that it was Jurgita having the question. I haven't yet completely answered your question, but what I would like for you to share maybe with everyone is what better understanding do you have now of what is needed for these groups of silent participants? Can you share maybe a little bit of your insights?
Try to convince that we need to start using video calls instead of just voice.
Yeah. Carolina, as a team lead, what would you say?
And again, from the experience, what free me, because I'm quite introvert, I'm not very eager to show myself in the video. It's actually a very simple, how to say, the same action, meeting from meeting. For example, at the end to say, okay, everything is okay, or smile and wave. So if there is some tradition, how you open and how you end the meeting, it's also helps.
Yeah, very good. Oh, Tutvidas, is that, did you raise a hand? Did you want to say something? No? Okay, thank you. Yeah, indeed, it's how we usually open and close our meetings, indeed. And thank you, Carolina, for showing your video and also sharing that for you it's not easy. And I even more appreciate that, you doing it. I will stop sharing the screen now. I would like now everyone, based on what happened. So you saw a little role play about a wonderful Scrum Master, a wonderful silent team. I think we can applaud the silent team that did a really great job in being silent, and a wonderful team lead that was played by Carolina. What tips would you give Jurgita for involving silent people? I will just add the question again. So you can put your answers in the chat. What tips would you give to your Gita or to yourself for involving silent people? And you may also reflect on how I facilitated this thing, because, you know, I call this dancing like a facilitator, because to me, we can always have a plan of a workshop, of a certain direction that we want to take. And suddenly the workshop starts and all things go wrong. I thought that everybody would be through the Zoom application so that we could use breakout rooms. It's not possible. Well, you know, we adapt. So please type in all your best wishes and all your best tips for involving silent people. Again, yeah, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot to use the whistle. So you've got 1 minute. I like the tip to try to implement the roundtable facilitation where everyone else can facilitate differently. It also increases the learnings as a facilitator. Introduce a rule that the team lead speaks as the last one. This is also powerful, because then you give the space for the others to speak, and maybe they were all afraid of the team lead or whatever. Or you know that thing, yeah, when you ask somebody their opinion and then they say something, usually all the others kind of repeat the same things. Calling names, having a crazy hat meetings. Oh yes, we have done that, a crazy hat meeting. Ask by name for silent people, best working method. Ask by name. Yeah. Give them a choice, no push. This is also true. I didn't force everyone to do it. I asked everyone who wanted to. And then suddenly Carolina went into Zoom and saw everyone, and we had the reaction, wow, like, wow, amazing. Yeah, be patient. Wow. Yeah. And yeah, I see here we're talking about poker planning. And of course, it's more about Scrum or Agile. And my advice would be, anyway, if you're doing poker planning, only let the people who do the work vote. But that's my personal opinion. I don't want to start a flame war on that, but you may quote me on that, right? if you're doing some poker planning, make sure that it's only the people who do the work that vote. This will make the conversations easier. Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be power discussions where the people who pay for it, like product owners and so on, will say, oh, you know, it's actually a 3 or a 5. Oh, icebreakers, and talk more about fun stuff at the beginning. By the way, actually, you know, if you followed Lisette's keynote, you might have noticed that we've moved on to a new normal kind of thing, right? Maybe you haven't, but you know, it's a kind of a new situation. Travel is kind of banned. We are not allowed to. I mean, in Belgium at the moment, it's going. The numbers are going crazy again. So it's a fun. I mean, not fun, but it's more like crazy stuff. So I've got a tip for you facilitators if you want to show, or if you want to involve maybe people in a different way. I'm going to change my camera view and we're going to play a game. And again, you may use the chat for your answers, okay? So without further ado, I've got a question for you. You will need to complete the following number sequence. So please use the chat and tell me what comes after 1, 2, 3. What is the next number? Maybe I need to be spotlighted. I am spotlighted so that you can see me. So please use the chat. What comes after this? Okay, I've got a 4. 4. Okay, 4. Okay, 1. All right. So we've got still a few, 13. Interesting. So you might want to know what comes after, right? So I'm going to here play around with this, and I need to move my screen while continuing to view the chat. It's a bit like I'm doing 2 things at the same time. Okay, some 2, some 5. And yes, Carolina, the other Carolina, it is 5. So what's the next one? Okay, so what's Jurgita? Yes, we saw it's 5, but what's the next one after this one? What comes after this one? Do you have an idea? 8. What else? 7. Okay, 11. We're just throwing random numbers in the chat. Hey, what a fun game. Charles-Louis, you're fantastic as a facilitator. A few more 8s, a 7. Well, it is 8. Hey, yay. What would be the next one? Yes, I have written it down. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. So after 8, oh, we're converging now. Gediminas always thinks it's 11. More 13, and so indeed it is 13. So can anyone tell me why? You may unmute yourself. Remember, I allow you to unmute yourself. So why do you think it is 13?
It's Agile estimation, most popular numbers.
Yes, it's a bit like the Fibonacci numbers, right? Yeah. So I am going to do another one. That's going to be, I'm going to prepare it. So I'm going to change my video because otherwise you might be seeing the sequence first. But we use that as, I'm going to sidetrack while I'm doing some other stuff. I'm going to ask you, why do you think we use that for estimations? This is, by the way, this is called the stalling for time. Is a very good facilitator skill. I ask a question so that you're working on something else while I'm preparing the rest. So why do you think we're using that? And you may unmute yourself and speak whenever you feel so.
To have enough room for, how to say, not for mistakes, but just for unprecise estimation.
Okay, can you be a bit clearer on that? What do you mean exactly by have more room for imprecise estimations?
Because you can estimate like small things quite precise, and those more complex things or bigger things you can just shoot, wrongly. So
Yeah.
you have enough room that it's something around like this.
Okay, good, fantastic. You're certified?
Some years ago.
Fantastic. Yes, indeed. So I'm going to come back to the other video. So you see how and this is again a great facilitator skill. You need to stall for time, and then you need to make sure that when you show your video that the last number is not showing, but that's another thing. So it's indeed, we try to put more space into the numbers. So 1, 2, 3 is quite close, but there's more space into the bigger numbers. So I have 3, 7. Yeah, maybe I need to show you a third number. Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult for you. I might be, yeah, I might be nicer if I show you this. So 3, 7, 12. So I'm just going to add in the chat so that people have a reference. So we have like 3, 7, 12. So what's the next one? Oh, wait, I was sorry. Okay, you see, there's one thing that I need to tell you, that as a facilitator, when you stall for time, be careful of your attention, because I messed something up in my sequence. Okay, I thought I had prepared it, but it's like, I'm going to write it easier like this. I'm going to use the post-its. 3, 7. It was not 12 actually, it is 13. Okay, so forget all you saw before. Here, the first one is 3. The next one is 7. And the third one is 13. Okay, so it's 3, 7, 13. What comes after? Okay. It is 20, oops, 25. Okay. So what did I do here? I did each time here plus 4. And here I did plus 6. And this is, okay, I need to have a talk with my maths teacher because you were right. I think it's, you were right. It should be 21. I'm confusing you all, and I apologize for this. I think for the next sequence, it's going to be easier. So I know that Fibonacci is an easy thing, right? So the thing is, with numbers, it's always easy when you are good with maths. And my my teachers always told me, Charles, you are not good with maths. So I'm sorry, I'm going to come back to this sequence. Let's just come back, and I will propose you another thing, because in order to test a sequence of numbers, it is important to know the formula. So I will ask you for forgetting everything that happened in the last 10 minutes. We are now in a new normal, okay? I will give you a sequence of numbers, and then you will need to find some numbers that are also in this sequence. So the first sequence is 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put it in the chat. The next one is 4, 5, 6. Can somebody give me another example of a number sequence that is in this sequence? So we've got like 1, 2, 3. Another one is 4, 5, 6. Can you give me another one in the chat? So you need to give me a sequence of 3 numbers, X, Y, Z. Yeah, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. Very good. Can you give me another one? Ten, 11, 12. Perfect, perfect. So I've got another sequence now. The next sequence is going to be 3, 3, 9, 81. So this is the new sequence. Or we also have 2, 4, 16. Can you give me another sequence? 111. Very good. Okay, okay. Yeah, we've got very good maths people here. 111 also works. 416 256. Yes, very good. What else? 416 256. Yes. 416 64. No. Actually, you should ask Jurgita and Inga for some. They're very good maths teachers. I think they did applied mathematics. So can anyone write a formula here? What is the formula? Yeah, 525, and I trust you for 625. Maybe I should ask Carolina or Inga whether it's okay. So what is the formula for this one? Yeah, it's to the power of 2. Perfect. Now I will give you another one. So the third times the charm. So for this one, we have 3, 6, and 12. We have 4, 8, 16. What is the formula for this one? Okay, no, sorry. Can you give me a few other examples for this list? I'm not sure about that, Carolina. I'm very bad with maths. 4, 8, 16. Yes, Carolina, I also put this one. Can you give me another example? Five, 10, 20. Very good. Okay, who else has an example? Yeah, 5, 10, 20. So can somebody, you can unmute yourself. What is the formula for this one? Because your goal now is to find a formula, because I will want you to produce many, many more numbers for this sequence. I will tell you whether it's correct or not.
Multiply by 2.
Well, it's a good try, but this is not the formula I'm looking for. So you can try to give some other sequence of numbers, and I will tell you whether they're okay or not. I will, by the way, write the formula here on a piece of paper. Okay, 6, 12, 24. Yes, also very good. 2, 4, 8. Yes, very good. So you remember in Lisette's keynotes, she was saying that when we moved online, we used the exact same thinking as before to work remotely, right? Yeah, I see no reaction, so I'm gonna imagine that you're all saying yes. You may use the chat, huh? So we use the same thinking to work online as we were before. But the thing is, my formula here, which is hidden, is a formula for the 3 numbers. The way you've given me answers, the sequence of numbers you've given, they follow the formula that was given by, I don't recall who, because I didn't see the name. But the thing is, you always only tested the exact same thinking. So in order to find a formula, I would advise you to give some wrong answers to see whether it's okay or not. Because what you want to do is to test your hypothesis. I've got a formula here that will validate the sequence of numbers that you give me. And if I'm confusing, if you're confused, please let me know. Can you please give me a series of numbers in order to test whether or not this formula 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 also works. Thank you, Gediminas. Somebody else wants to try something. You may unmute yourself. Jurgita? No? 0, 0, 0. That's a tricky one. I would say yes. 2, 6, 7, yes also. 45, 87, 99, yes also, Gedimas. Perfect. So who wants to try to give the formula? Whoa, again, a mathematics equation. 10, 37, 49, perfect. Yes, they're all good. So 9, 8, 7, yes. Anyone wants to have a try? Yes, Gediminas, you're quite close. Any 3 positive numbers? Okay, so I will now stop spotlighting me and I will ask you all, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, so anything works, Violetta, as long as you don't go into negative space, because then I'm confused. You know how bad I am with maths, right? So I tried to put something where I knew that I could find the numbers. So I'm curious, why do you think we played this game? One answer could be because the first one got completely wrong. Yes, that's an option. Why else do you think we played this game?
To be involved, for everyone to brainstorm.
Okay, yeah. You notice how people were trying to find out the sequence of numbers? Yes, to be involved. Thank you, Violetta.
You got to know that those people participating even without video.
Yeah. People participated even without video, even though I made a fool of myself in the previous exercise. Thank you. What else?
To show that people are thinking in patterns and search for patterns when there are none.
Yes, exactly. We are searching in patterns. I showed you 2 sequences of numbers, and then you directly jumped into the, okay, I see the pattern. So what we do is we try to confirm these patterns. Yes. What else did you notice while playing the game? And yeah, I see in the chat, you want to make us involved and be comfortable in using the chat. Very good, indeed. What else have you noticed in this game? Jurgita?
No wrong answers.
No wrong answers, indeed. And this is clear. If we want to have some psychological safety, if we want to make it sure that there are no wrong answers. But at the same time, I also try to make you think, as also Gediminas was saying, try to use different thought patterns. Because if you always go for the obvious answers, you might be missing out on something. And as Lisette said, we are all on the screen. Yes, exactly. As Dominica is saying in the chat, to not be afraid to move away from something we think we know. Exactly. Because sometimes by giving the wrong answers, we might have a better understanding of the whole frame that surrounds us. And when we move into online work as facilitators, it's important to know that it's not because we are behind a screen that all the rest has become impossible. So we need to try to limit. If our teams are uncomfortable with using videos, great. Do not force them to turn on their videos. Some people like to work naked, I think, maybe, I don't know. So they might be uncomfortable with sharing a video. Okay? It's all about finding something that works. Lisette said it's all about team agreements. How do we want to work together? I could force you all to put on your video, but then I'm sure that all of us or most of you would leave. And that's not the point. You would not learn anything, right? So I don't hear any feedback, so I'm happy. You can unmute yourself and just react on what's being said. I've got a question for you, maybe. How would you see yourself using this exercise with your teams? Or in which situations? I've got messages in the chat. Highly likely to use it. Okay, Violetta, can you please unmute yourself and share how or why or when? I'm very curious to hear that. And if you've got technical issues, you're free to use it in the chat.
No, no technical issues. That's maybe some background sounds for you.
Yeah.
I think I would use it when people are bored, as Gediminas, I guess, said, or don't see how I actually wrote this. Because sometimes, you know, remote meetings tend to be very exciting at first week of remote work, and then everyone gets, you know, bored and uninvolved. So yeah, games help.
Yeah. Thank you. And also there's a purpose behind this game, with the thinking patterns and so on. Yeah. Thank you, Violetta.
Yeah.
Who else would like to share something? Carolina, you said something when you see that people are bored or not participating. Can you tell me more?
I think it's good to, in the middle of the meeting or any time of the meeting, to just drop something unexpected to the team and to get the attention back.
Yeah. Did it work?
I will try it.
No, I mean, did it work here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Who else has some ideas on how to use it? Or maybe who else said, I'd love to use it, Charlie, but I don't know how. Please give me some tips. You know, no wrong answers. Fantastic. You're all going to use it then next time. What I would love to also highlight with you is the power, what is maybe the most important power of a facilitator? I'm going to ask this question in the chat so that you can also answer. What is the most important power of the facilitator? With a question mark. So feel free to type in your answers in the chat. What is the most important power of a facilitator? I'm giving you 2 minutes. Facilitator owns the agenda. Okay, so maybe the facilitator only has one power. He only owns the agenda. What else do you know about that? Control the time. Makes action discussion happen. Facilitator tells jokes so that everyone feels comfortable. Owns the attention when needed. Yes. Some wonderful answers there. Okay, you've got 1 more minute. So the most important power of facilitator, and maybe it could be, maybe you don't know. Facilitator can turn discussions to the preferred way, ensures all people are heard. Great. Yeah, it's important that everyone is heard, and this is one of the most important topics that we talked about at the beginning, how to involve silent people, because they have wonderful things to say, but maybe they don't feel like they can speak. Yeah. Okay, a few seconds remaining. I'm going to blow the whistle, so if you still have something to say, please type it in the chat. Okay, wonderful. So we've got a facilitator that owns the agenda, controls the time, makes action discussion happen, owns the attention when needed, controls the direction of the discussion, can turn discussions a preferred way, ensures all people are heard. And also in this reality, they own the button to end the meeting. Yes, fantastic. Yeah, of course, we own that. And, you know, I would not recommend you to use this because, you know, this big red button, it's something to only use with care, I would say. But yeah, so there's so many powers here for the facilitator. But what I love here is that none of you said they own the content. Because as soon as the facilitator enters into the discussion, into the topics, into the content, what happens then? What happens next? You may unmute yourself. Huh?
He will always be speaking and overcrowd the team's voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
As they own the attention, everyone's attention will be to what the facilitator is saying.
Yeah.
And everyone else will be silent.
Exactly.
Yeah, he will be setting this expectation that he will be speaking and providing the content, and then he will lose people involvement.
Yeah. Yeah. What else do you know about that? Something that hasn't been said, maybe. Wonderful. Everything has already been said. So we know about the power of the facilitator, and I think, to me, when I use a metaphor for the facilitator, I think it's more like the wind, because we can be a very light breeze. Oh yeah, the meeting becomes unfacilitated when they speak too much. It's like a very light breeze when needed, but when we are taking too much space, it's like a tornado, and then everything goes wrong. Okay, so now the next question is, what are the biggest traps? For the facilitator. Sorry. You've got 2 minutes. What are the biggest traps for the facilitator? Arguments with the speakers, yeah. Taking all the space by talking all the time. Yeah, try to fill silent pauses. This is what I'm doing, by the way. And I notice that I'm doing that, especially when I don't have visual feedback. It's like that. Becoming a decision maker. Ooh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so Robertas and Yogita, I'm going to remain silent and will not fill silent spaces now this time.
I mean, that's what I usually also do with our teams. So.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Robertas. It is indeed a tricky road to travel. And by the way, if I hadn't remained silent, you probably wouldn't have shared that.
Indeed, yeah.
So thank you for, we'll talk afterwards for the payment as promised, but it's it's wonderful. Yeah, so it's really important. I don't know if the Hoover chat remains available, but if you're the facilitator, it's key that you keep track of all these traps because you can fall into them. And so I would say the next question is, what tips or tricks would you give a facilitator that tends to fall into these traps? It's a long question, so I'm going to say it again before I type it. So what tips or tricks would you give a facilitator that usually tends to argument with the speaker, talk too much, become a decision maker, not follow the time, and so on? So would you give to a facilitator who falls into those traps? Yeah, and Todridas, to lose the target he wants to achieve in half a meeting to talk jokes. Okay, so that was still one of the biggest traps, right, Todridas? You may mute yourself. Because I don't know if timings wise the chat is yeah, it's an answer before. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so the facilitator is not only, it's not only about telling jokes, huh? It's about making the atmosphere easy enough so that people can work. Facilitator comes from the French, well, in facilitator, you've got facilitate, and in French, the word facile means easy. So facilitator is the person who makes it easy. Yogita, leave facilitating to someone else and start improving. And agree with the team to shout some agreed word when they feel oh yes, that is very powerful, Carolina. Very useful tip indeed. Agree with a word. It can be banana, it can be whatever, but something not related to work. And when you hear that, it means, okay, maybe I'm overboard. And it's all about this gentle facilitation. It's not about, hey, shall we shut up now? It's our time to work, because this is like escalating into a thermonuclear war. It's more about this, hey, let's find ways to improve. Have a goal for the meeting stated at the beginning, making sure we know what to do, we want to agree on or to achieve. Wonderful, Dominica. Thank you. Do you all chat in Zoom? Hoover chat is inactive. Raza, we all chat in Hoover, because I don't see a chat option in Zoom. And the good news is I saw your question. So Raza, do you mean that you don't see anything from you may unmute yourself, right? You don't see anything in the Hoover chat?
I already posted another comment. It was probably something on my PC. I see now the chat. It's okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, and again, this is really super important as a facilitator. Also know your tools. And I know here we're doing this Hoover and Zoom integration. From what I notice, I think there is a little bit of delay. I think sometimes I get some answers after they have been posted. So this is also something to know. Otherwise, if you use an integrated tool like Zoom or Teams or whatever, use the integrated chat. Okay. I'm not a big fan of using extra tools like whiteboards. They can be useful if you want to kind of have a history, but I think with Teams, you save the chat history in parallel with in the meeting. With Zoom, you can always save the chat as well. So make sure that you have that. Create a trusting environment at first, Carolina. Yes, thank you, indeed. Create this trusting environment is crucial. And I'm curious, how many of you here have started a new job since, let's say, since March? Or have joined a new team that they might never have seen before? No? Thanks for putting your camera. Yeah, okay, Tautvydas, you've started this. So what about creating a trusting environment then? Would you, you started a new job. Would you mind maybe unmuting yourself and telling a little bit about how that happened? Again, because we're here in this session dancing like a facilitator, and it's about how do we adapt to this new reality? So any of you who would like to share that, you may unmute yourself and talk about this.
Well, I can start maybe to kick off real quick. We went to an informal environment after we had a meeting with our new company managers, 2 meetings. The first one was a job interview, and the second one we met when all the team was combined. Of course, the team is a team of 2, and then the director, the manager, but it still was a small circle, and we just went for a dinner, for a lunch, just to break the ice, introduce the expectation set. It was out of the office boundaries, and it was very cozy atmosphere. And of course, we went to the bar after. So that helped.
Yeah, thank you, Robertas. And just I'm going to ask another question, because it's this restaurant, this bar, this cozy atmosphere. If you hadn't had that, and you know, it's about alternating universes and possibilities, but what would have been the impact, do you think, if you hadn't had that?
Well, you need some sort of still the first icebreaker, the first contact to make well, contact with your peers, to introduce them. So it was like a intro / team building, first team building to initiate all that.
Yeah, it's really crucial, huh? Especially also now when we're not even sure that we're always going to see our new teammates, and
Yes.
having some human contact. We are still human beings, you know. We're not just a name on a screen. Yeah.
Exactly, that element of reality was a good addition there.
Yeah, it's important. I also started a contract somewhere in May or June, and they asked me, hey, could you, because it was as an agile coach for and it was even in another country, not in Belgium, and they asked me, hey, who do you want to interview? Because it was only a limited set of days I had to choose, and actually I asked them, hey, you know, since I'm the agile coach and it's going to be about this agile mindset, the people I'd like to see are the people who are the resistors, the ones who always complain, and the ones who go against the establishment. I mean, you know, like I didn't want all the people who always say, yes, yes, you're right, because I wanted to see also what are the things that we don't see. And as a facilitator, it's also important to give voice to, you know, you said give voice to everyone. And I think there's power into looking for those who we, looking for those who we would probably not go towards. Okay, usually you say, okay, these are resisting. Robertas, I'm going to use your name. He's always resisting, always complaining. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to go to the good guys. But I think as a facilitator and as an agile coach or even scrum master, it is crucial that we listen to everyone.
That's correct, and I would accompany what you're saying is that we have a complainer in our team, but on the other hand, when he's not complaining, he brings really valuable and good ideas and insights. And if you would not listen to his complaints, he probably would not add those positive additions or useful additions as well. He would not speak up.
Yeah, and you know, this brings me to a great question that I'm going to ask in the chat, Robertas, because you say that he also brings positive addition. So the question I'm going to add in the chat now is, why do you think that people complain? Generally, you know, you're working in a team and then you have people complaining. What is, you know, behind these complaints? There's no wrong answers, huh? So feel free to use the chat. Why do you think people complain? And I know I have to wait a little bit because there's some delay between the Zoom and the Hoover. Yeah, they don't like the existing setup, yes. Because they do not know. Yeah, there are maybe some things they don't know, and so they prefer to complain. They want to change, they're tired, and they want to be heard. Wow. So wait, that's two different things. They want to change and they want to be heard. They are tired. Yes. I also added they protect something. So it's very interesting to see all these answers because the complainers, when I would say as a change agent, agile coach, scrum master, complainers are your biggest sources of information. And when you've got them on your side, you know, as Roberta said, complainers can bring very positive information, bring very positive input. So if you have them on your side, they're going to help you. Yeah, Carolina, they feel that nobody listens to them, so they exaggerate the message. They risk of losing something. Exactly. So because they like to complain. Yes, also, that's also a possibility. But I think it's nice also to kind of hear what they're saying, to give them space for that, so that afterwards they may also be heard, and then we can look together for a solution. Any any strong reaction based on what I just said? Anyone wants to strongly disagree, going to a fight with me? I was hoping we would get that because one of the questions at the beginning was also about the situation where somebody gets into a fight. And so I wanted to address this in this session. So how to manage an angry retrospective. One occasion when participants were so angry at each other that it felt like the retrospective will turn to a fist fight. So anyone wants to disagree with me? So Gediminas, I'm sorry. People don't disagree here. We're not turning to an angry retrospective. Oh, Jody says, agree, complainers bring the best retro topics and give the best ideas for change. It's a trend in this society that everyone should be positive and those who are realists are treated as complainers. Yes, 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 yes. This is so powerful. This is so powerful. We need to give voice to everyone. And I'm just, you know, we're at the Agile Tour. Agile, it's about people and interactions over processes and tools. So it's not about putting a campfire and singing Kumbaya and everyone's happy. It's about giving everyone a voice. And as facilitators, it is our duty to ensure that this happens. And in order for that to happen, it's important. I loved also that you said, if the facilitator talks too much, takes too much space, it's, you know, they kind of fall into the trap. So I've got 2 tips for facilitators. And I put this right here because it's not exactly at the end of the session nor at the beginning. So it's only for those who listen right now. So I've got 2 tips for facilitators. 1, fight for an empty agenda. Does anyone know what I mean by that? Fight for an empty agenda.
No advanced preparation to the meeting and content is born inside of it, or?
Yeah, so there's part of that. So no advanced preparation. I would say still a little bit of preparation is useful. For instance, in my side, usually I have a paper with some mathematical sequences, but this time I lost my papers and just before the session. So, you know, this happens. Open space to speak up. Yes. What I would say is, you know, sometimes people ask me to facilitate a workshop and they want 5 or 6 or 7 topics to be addressed in 1 hour. My go-to response for that is, I will not do it. Because in an hour, we cannot do that. In an hour, I cannot go with the team, give them space to talk, and go over 7 topics. So it's more about, okay, you know, if there would be like one objective to your meeting, and this was also one of the tips that was said in the chat, ask the person who's asking you to facilitate, hey, if you want one change after this meeting, what would it be? If you want the people to remember one thing, what would it be? This is what I mean with fight for an empty agenda. Give space so that one topic can be addressed fully. Does that make sense? I'm fine if you contradict me, huh? I'm sure. Yes, it makes sense. Oh, okay, good. So, Gediminas, I'm sorry, we'll not, it seems like we will not go into this fist fight, huh? I'm trying to, but you know, so the first thing is fight for an empty agenda. What would the next, and actually, what would the next topic be? So first tip, I'm going to write it in the chat. Okay, so the game is now for you to find out what is the next tip. So I said I've got 2 tips for the facilitator. The first one is fight for an empty agenda. What is the second one? Please type it in the chat. Anyone has an idea? Okay, what do you do if reaching the agreement is important? Ah, okay, so that is a question, right? It's not the tip. I will keep it up for later. So what would be, so what do I do if reaching the agreement is important? Yeah, so there are options for this. But first, I would like also to see if anyone has an idea of the next tip for the facilitator. No one? Ask questions. Yes, Gediminas, it's very good. Ask questions. I've been doing that the whole time, right? Ask questions, exactly. Asking questions also allows for people to open up and to continue. Yeah. Actually, my second tip, I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And this is like my second tip, but you can choose. If you prefer Gedimina's tip, feel free to use it. My second tip is trust yourself. Why do I say that? I will leave space. You may unmute your microphone. So why do I say that the second tip is trust yourself?
You can only create trusting environment starting from yourself.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Violeta.
I think impression matters. So it's like, yeah, if you look strong enough, you will get some respect, and that will force others kind of to respect you and to participate.
Yeah, thank you, Carolina. Thank you. Some other ideas? So we've got the fact that trust starts from ourselves, and also about like this if we look strong, it will also help others to feel like that. Or what is your experience maybe as a facilitator? Share a story. Yeah. You know, there's this movie, movie by Walt Disney with an elephant. You might have seen that one. It's called Dumbo. At some point, Dumbo has drunk too much alcohol and then wakes up at the top of a tree. And then some birds tell him, "Hey, Dumbo, you know, if you wanna, you've been here, you arrived here flying, and if you want to fly, you know, because Dumbo thinks, oh, I can't fly. If you want to fly, here's this magic feather. With this magic feather, you will be able to fly." And what happens? Dumbo takes the feather, and then suddenly he can fly. It's the magic feather, right? So Dumbo can only fly with the feather. Or is that so? What is it that makes it that Dumbo can fly? Yeah, that's not only for facilitators. Yes, true. It's also for dancers. So anyone care to guess how it comes that Dumbo can fly?
When you trust yourself, nothing is impossible.
Exactly. Yeah. Yogita, you want to say something? No?
Yeah, I wanted to say the same, that when you trust, then you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. What else?
I actually wanted to say that when you trust yourself, you are not afraid of fooling yourself in front of the team you are facilitating, and it actually helps the team to bond also, because they have a laugh, and it helps to ease up for everyone. So just keeping this light atmosphere helps.
Thank you, Violetta. Did you have a laugh when I completely failed my maths exercise?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's interesting to go further what you said afterwards. What did it create? The fact that
The ease of atmosphere, everyone else has something to bond with, about, you know, laughing about this silly thing that happened just now, and yeah, they have something in common, everyone.
Yeah, and you know, I will add something to that, because it will happen that you have prepared something and it goes wrong, that you have prepared a sheet with the sequences and that it goes missing just before the workshop, that you enter a room when you do an in-person workshop and that there is no projector working because the lamp has been dead for 5,000 hours. Or suddenly there's an electricity issue and then no power in the whole room. This will happen again. The best thing you can do when that happened, it's was?
Yeah, just tell a joke.
Tell a joke, make it fun, you know, like do a pirouette, like you know, the how you call that, the people who, you know, are in the circus and do these crazy crazy moves and then jump on the rope, dances and so on, and then suddenly they fall. They always end with a pirouette. But acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this will again show that we're human. Okay, so I see that it's 4:15 and we have 15 minutes left, right, Lina?
Yes, that's right.
Ah, good. So What I would like to do now, I will first, so there was the question from Carolina, what do you do if the reaching the agreement is important? There are topics and there are workshop things for that, but there is one thing about this, Carolina, and maybe you want to add a little bit of context to your question. So because I'll address your question and then
Yes.
wrap up.
You mentioned that it's important to have the open agenda.
Yeah.
Or no agenda. But if you entering the meeting and you know that you have to reach some kind of solution.
Yeah.
So it means that agenda, it is agenda for the meeting.
Yeah.
One topic, two topics. Let's say one topic. So what you're doing.
Yeah. So if I rephrase it, it is like, okay, we have this topic and we want to reach an agreement by the end of the workshop.
Yes.
It could be like in a backlog refinement, we want to reach an agreement on how much we estimate this task. It could be a planning where we want to reach an agreement on what's the content of the sprint backlog at the end of the planning. It could be any of those things. It could be we agree on which bar we go at the end of the restaurant. In case of Robertas and his dinner with his new colleague. We need to reach an agreement. Well, one thing, actually two things. The first, is there transparency for all the people involved in the meeting that an agreement has to be reached? The second thing is, are all the people in the room, no, not are, do all the people in the room have enough power, knowledge in order to reach that decision? It's not the facilitator's role, but what you can do when you prepare this with a person, because there's so many, you can use liberating structures, you can use sociocracy-based decision-making frameworks. Okay, I'm going to put the links in the chat. All right, and then I'd love to hear Achini's feedback. But what's crucial as a facilitator is to talk with the person who organizes the meeting and say, hey, make sure you've got the right people in the room, people who can act and make a decision, right? Because if you recall from the previous Scrum Master and Silent Team members discussion, if I have people there that might have a strong decision power, but no will to speak, it will not help. Okay, so make sure that there is transparency, that an agreement has to be reached, and that the people have the power and knowledge to do it. That also means if you invite people to a workshop to reach a decision or an agreement, let them do their homework. Because every meeting has its own focus. I'm going to drop in the chat reference of a book, the Facilitators toolkit. No, I don't recall. I'm going to add it in the chat afterwards. But there's this, every meeting has its purpose. You cannot go into a meeting to discover a topic and brainstorm and like, you know, hey, go all the way and expect to reach a decision point at the same time, because some people need time to acknowledge the facts, to let it sink in before they reach a decision. Facilitators Guide to Participatory Decision Making. That's the name of the book, Sam Kainer. In that book, he talks about 7 different kinds of meetings. All right. I think I have a picture of that somewhere. I'm going to find it back. Where is it? Here. Here. Okay, I'm going to back to Zoom and I will share my screen so that you can see. So I am showing this picture. There's 7 types of meeting goals. If you are in a meeting to share information, to advance the thinking, to improve communication, build community, build capacity, make decisions, provide input, it's not the same. If you mix them, It's a recipe for disaster. Okay, so I would encourage you to read that book, because it contains a lot of information on how to facilitate that, and also some kind of specific information on these specific kinds of meetings. All right, so Achini, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Having an agenda and being prepared to the meeting or facilitating is two different things. Did I address this?
I got a little bit confused because the reason is like, I mean, it would be fine if we don't have an agenda, because in agenda we will tell, okay, what need to be discussed and when we should discuss and all sort of stuff. But it doesn't mean that we should not prepare for the meeting. Otherwise, we will come up with no solution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So not having agenda, or encourage to not have agenda and not preparing for the meeting is two different things, right?
Yes, and this is what I said earlier, you know, like when we talk about the person asking us to facilitate it, hey, make sure that the people are prepared, they do their homework, they know their topic. Because
yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because what I meant with an empty agenda, it's not like, okay, from 10 till 10:05, welcome. From 10:05 till 10:15, intro. Because it's not the same thing. Here it's welcome and here it's intro. And then from 10:15 till whatever, we've got topic 1, topic 2. If you have an agenda like that, please, as a facilitator, stop doing this. People don't need to know the timings. You need to know it. The person with whom you prepare the meeting need to know that, but use it as a guideline. And what you show to the participants is an agenda where you can say, okay, welcome, topic 1, topic 2, and closure. Keep the timings for yourself, because you will deviate this. All right.
I have one more question in here. Isn't it based on the thing that we're going to do? For example, just believe that we are doing a demo with multiple teams.
Yeah.
In that case, for example, in my scenario, I would say I'm working with 3 different teams, and we have different stakeholders, and we do different demoing for the different stakeholders by involving different teams. But it doesn't mean that all the other team participants cannot involve for that one. So if I get the scenario like demoing, so for the participants, it would be really nice to have, okay, team 1 do this kind of demoing in this time of period, or likewise. So in that case, whether we need to have the agenda on what we need to be in the agenda, isn't it depend on what we're going to facilitate?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Let's imagine that we have a team that has a number of items here that are done or finished or whatever. The 2 questions I would focus on is, why do we do a demo? What's the purpose? And who will be present? Because I've seen some teams where they said, oh, for the demo, it's nice because it's a moment where everyone gets together. But this is not a demo. This is for me drinking coffee. If you look at sprint, at Scrum, in the sprint review, the purpose of the demo, or they call it the sprint review, the purpose of it is to inspect what has been developed, to get feedback and to adapt the backlog, and to decide whether we continue or not working on the product, basically. So we need to be clear on the purpose and the outcome. Otherwise, if it's just about showing stuff without expecting feedback, then you could do, as Lisette said, record a video and then ask for feedback. All right. I mean, I see some other questions in the chat, and I know that we're closing the time. So if we have a big list of things to discuss, and indeed, okay, Irina, you already answered this. Okay, great, perfect. There's even another option that I sometimes like to work with as well. If you've got too many topics for too little time, is I put 2 boxes here. We're going to discuss these 2 topics. You've got all your items here in the list, and then you go around the table. The first person says, okay, for instance, I call Carolina, and Carolina says, oh, I take this topic and I put it in the box. Great, topic 1 is in the box. Then Tautvidas says, okay, I put topic 2 in the box. Okay, great, we've got 2 topics in the box. Then we continue around the table, and in my view, it's Ruta, or Ruta, I don't know if I pronounce it. And okay, topic 3. Would you put it in the box instead of topic 1 or 2? Because we only have 2 boxes, so it's about deciding whether or not this topic is more important or not than the others. But I only ask Ruta. Carolina and Tautvidas have nothing to say about this. Okay, so then Ruta, you say, actually, I think that topic 3 is more important than the 1, so we delete it and put this one. And so on and so forth. So this is also an option to keep 2 topics. And I know that we're almost closing time, Lina. So that's the thing. So what I'd like now is, I've got a last question to ask in the chat. First of all, I would like to thank you so much for your participation, because you've been wonderful. I know I couldn't see you all the time, but that's all right. I dealt with that. But I've got one last question in the chat for you. And it's, what is the one thing you take away from this session? Basically, what are you going to do differently as from now? There's also some other things, of course, rating of the session on Mentimeter. And afterwards, we've got another networking session or closing session. I'm going to let Lina finish that one because she's going to be less confused than me. She knows all this by heart. She's been working. I mean, you can really, I think this is also a moment where we can really thank, I mean, especially Lina, but all the team of volunteers of the Agile Tour Vilnius, because they've been hard at work getting this to work in an online fashion in a remote setting. So I think, Lina, you know how much I appreciate all the help that you've been doing for this. And if you could just put your video on and wave, because I think Lina is also in the application, so she can see you wave just for a minute or so.
I'm actually at Agile Lietuva 4. You can see me. Yeah. So I'm with a video.
I'm spotlighting you.
Oh, thank you. So I have a few messages for everyone. If you like this workshop, please just leave your votes in menti.com. The number is 9624155. Also, you can find this information in Huva down below the screen where you can see our presentation. So just leave your comments about this workshop, and also please remember to go back to main track, because we will be having a closing note session, and it will be really interesting actually.
Thank you, Lina. I also have one last thing to say. Tomorrow I'm facilitating a workshop on stories and fairy tales. It's going to be fantastic, but that's just me. So it would be great if you joined. If you don't, I mean, there's other sessions as well, but that's it. So thank you. And let's have a 3D break and come back to the main track.